Bird Hotel, written by Jill Eggleton and illustrated by Richard Hoyt. Mrs. Biddle lived by herself. "I like to live by myself," she said. One day, Mrs. Biddle looked out of her window and she saw birds everywhere. They were making nests in her tree and they were chirping. "Go away!" Mrs. Biddle shouted. "I want to live by myself." But the birds stayed in Mrs. Biddle's tree and they chirped all day. Mrs. Biddle stayed inside. She was not happy. When spring came, the birds chirped and chirped. "What a noise!" said Mrs. Biddle. She looked out of her window and saw baby birds in every nest. The mother birds flew in and out of the tree with worms and bugs and grubs. They flew in and out of the tree all day long. "This is terrible!" shouted Mrs. Biddle. "There are too many birds in my tree. I just want to live by myself." But poor Mrs. Biddle couldn't live by herself. People came to Mrs. Biddle's house to look at the birds. Buses stopped by her house and people took photographs. Kids came and sat under the tree. "This is terrible," said Mrs. Biddle. "I just want to live by myself." Then one day, Mrs. Biddle woke up and she couldn't hear the birds. There were no birds in the tree and no birds in the nests. There was no chirping. Mrs. Biddle looked at the sky and she saw snow clouds. "Winter is coming," said Mrs. Biddle. "Those birds have gone away. Good, now I can live by myself." Winter came. Mrs. Biddle missed the people stopping by her house. She missed the people taking photographs. She missed the kids sitting under the tree. And she missed the birds. So Mrs. Biddle made a sign and she put it on the tree. "Bird Hotel Vacancy." Then one day, spring came. Mrs. Biddle woke up and she heard chirping. She looked out of her window and she saw birds everywhere. "Good," said Mrs. Biddle. "The birds are back. I don't like living by myself."